Welcome back to New Venture Mentor, your source for straightforward advice to help you plan, launch, and grow your startup or small business. I'm Kate Costa, and today I want to talk to you very quickly about the need to stop and regroup in a crisis. Since I moved to Chicago, I have worked mostly with nonprofits serving entrepreneurs as opposed to independently working with entrepreneurs themselves. So I've seen a lot more cases of the need for major crisis management from both the nonprofits themselves and the for-profit entrepreneurs that we're serving. Crisis is not that uncommon. Small businesses are very susceptible to crisis because they do not have large reserves of resources to help them survive trouble spots like large corporations do. So how they deal with a crisis is even more important. One of the things I have seen over and over again that leads to an organization's ultimate demise is the inability of leadership to put the brakes on when they find themselves in crisis mode. Generally, the leadership either refuses to acknowledge that there's a problem until it's too late, panics, or does both. What you really need to do if you find yourself in a crisis is to stop. Yes, stop. You're in a crisis because something went wrong. And if you want to get yourself out of the crisis, you'll need to make sound strategic decisions. And you can only do that if you stop and regroup. This seems obvious, but I have found that most leaders cannot stop moving when they're in a crisis because they're frantically running around trying to pull together a patchwork of possible solutions. The problem with this, though, is that the patchwork isn't strong enough to support the heavy lifting. And while it might stave off the demise of the organization for a bit, it doesn't cure the underlying problems that caused the crisis to begin with. So you're bound to be right back in another crisis soon. Imagine you're in a dinghy that's leaking. What do you need to do to make sure you don't sink? Scoop out the water that you're taking on, or plug the hole that it's coming through? Well, you need to do both, right? That seems obvious in the boat analogy, but the same is true in business, and it's somehow less obvious there. To prevent your business from going down in a crisis, though, you need to both find a solution to the immediate symptoms of the problem, i.e. deal with the immediate crisis at hand, and address the issues that led to the crisis in the first place. In order to do that, you have to stop, regroup, and think. Now, that might mean halting certain services and pulling back on hours for employees and contractors until you've worked through your cash flow issues, and then setting financial controls and management procedures in place so that you don't create the same issues in the future. That's just one example. There are any number of forms that this could take, but the key takeaway is that you must both scoop out the water and plug the hole if you want the dinghy to stay afloat. And you cannot possibly do that if you don't stop scooping out the water long enough to identify where the leak is and plug it. That's it for this week here on New Venture Mentor. If you liked this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it. Also, I've recently enabled community contributions on all of my YouTube videos, so I'd be incredibly appreciative if any of you would be willing to take a stab at translating some of those videos so that people who speak languages other than English can access them. You don't have to do it all, but any little bit helps. So thank you in advance to those of you who decide to contribute. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on New Venture Mentor.